Now, this is what a Romanian friend of mine posted on Facebook, and I find it utterly fascinating that Romanians are more interested in American politics as well as American history than the American media itself. So he talks about the fact that in 1979, within the United States, the Department of Education is formed. And while a lot of people think that the world would not be able to function without the Department of Education, I want to remind people that the United States did send rockets to the moon before the department was made. And not only that, but they also managed to win not one but two world wars. So America was educated before then, but now you have the bureaucrats, which is the best invention mankind has ever made since the Industrial Revolution. Nothing can function without the experts and the bureaucrats. So as you can see, 1979, and this is where you start to see people starting to homeschool. Not a lot. I mean, very few. You know, these are probably either the very wealthy or the people who can't afford to send their kids to school. But as time moves on and we go all the way to 1983, apparently around 100,000 children across the United States are getting homeschooled, and people are considering these parents to be crazy because they didn't want under any circumstance for their children to be educated by the state through the grace of the federal government. Now, at the end of the reign of Bill Clinton, and so 14 years from there, the number of the people who are getting homeschooled is still small. And this is mainly to the fact that the two Republican presidents, Reagan as well as Bush Sr., didn't try to increase the involvement or the powers of the Department of Education. So basically, school was pretty much the same way it always used to be. The parents had a lot of trust in the institution because they would look at the school and it was very similar to the school that they went to. The values that were being taught in school were similar to the values that they grew up with. So they had absolutely no reason to pull their kids out of school, except a small fringe minority who, for various reasons, decided to do so. And take into account that the number, despite the fact that it has grown, the population of the United States has grown as well. So percentage-wise, it was pretty much the same. Now, if you look at 97, you will notice a huge increase. So the question is, what happens between 1990 and 97? And the answer is that you have the first educational reform, and the United States tries to introduce the so-called goal-oriented education. Now, the goal-oriented education was just the start, because it's going to be the fundamental in order to create this thing that's called the Common Core. And if you don't know why the Common Core is bad, I have a very popular video on my channel where I show you how Common Core math is being done like. And it's not just me that says that it's bad, it's the teachers themselves. Like, there are math teachers that give examples on why Common Core is bad and why it actually doesn't help students. So there's professionals that have went in front of the Senate and talked about it. So this is when you notice that because of Common Core, the number of students who are now being homeschooled raises dramatically. And by 2020, you have the third educational reform. And this is an initiative from Bill Gates. You can look at it. Very interesting. But you can see the huge number of children getting homeschooled. And the next year, this is when a lot of parents are finding out from online courses what their children study at school because of the pandemic. They're now having access to listen to the classes, and they get to see some of the interesting aspects that teachers have to push. And the number of homeschool explodes. I mean, it's unprecedented. And if things would continue, the numbers would keep growing. And the thing is, like, it's a losing battle for the government because the Supreme Court has mandated that homeschooling is a constitutional right. So the only way that I guess the government would win is if it would force students to go to school. And this is true in a lot of European countries. Like here, homeschooling is not just unpopular. In some places, it's very difficult to do. You need a lot of licenses. It's very expensive because you need to get licensed teachers to come to your house to teach your kid. So in Europe, it's a lot easier for the government to push whatever they want on schools. But in the United States, if the parents don't want to, then the government loses because the parents will just start homeschooling their kids. So this is exactly what we are seeing. And this is why the left is going to lose this because it's only the left that supports this right now. Like you don't see Republicans backing the changes that are happening in school, especially regarding critical race theory. And we saw in Florida, Walt Disney being very upset because the governor has intervened into what teachers can and can't say. And then there's another problem. The teachers' unions who were getting paid during the pandemic while sitting at home. I mean, who doesn't want that? Imagine the royalty. Like you get to stay at home, not go to work, and you still get paid. I mean, so many people lost their job during the pandemic, but the teachers didn't. So, of course, the teachers' unions who worked very closely with the current administration, they were like, oh, no, we don't feel safe. We want the children to feel safe. In other words, just let us stay more at home so we can get more money. And one of the presidents of a teachers' union, who was very afraid to go back to school because of the virus, went on a holiday. I mean, I guess like the virus didn't follow her in another country as she was resting at the beach with the money from the taxpayer, right? So parents saw that, parents were upset, and it just deepens the problem. There is a lot of animosity now between teachers and parents, especially the way parents were treated initially. They were treated like spoiled children. And a lot of the ideology that teachers are pushing, especially the critical race one, you know, that America is evil and it's systemically racist. Part of this ideology is to abolish whiteness, and they view whiteness as a concept where the parent has the right of ownership over the child, right? So they don't view that. They think that the teacher and the parent are equals. In fact, the teacher is more important than the parent. And there's a lot of videos on TikTok showing teachers expressing exactly this, and there's academic literature to back this up, saying that in a decolonized world, the teacher is the one that has the role of educating the student, and the parent just has to, I guess, like teach the kid how to behave at school so he is nice and listens to the teacher. And of course, you know, you get this friction, and the number is just astronomical, and if things don't go back the way they were, it's just going to grow. But, you know, thank you, Bill Gates, for having this great initiative in 2020, for doing this and waking up people on the fact that, hold on a little bit, I don't send my kid to school so he can learn that the country is evil. No, that's not a good thing, you know, so... we'll see how that plays out. I definitely think that in the midterms, this is going to be a very important conversation that people in the United States are going to have. I know a lot of left-leaning people who agree on almost everything that is left-leaning, but they also have kids, and they don't like what they're seeing happening at schools. So they might vote differently, or might refuse to go to vote, you know, might stay home because they don't want to vote Republican either, but the Democrat candidate is upsetting them, so... we'll see. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.